So welcome everyone to this EU Clusters talk on the transition pathway for construction, how to green and digitalize the ecosystem. That means concrete and actionable transition plans for construction. Why does this matter? It's because construction is the second largest industrial ecosystem for the European Union in economic terms after retail. It's employing around 25 million people, 1.1 trillion euros a year in revenues. That's nearly 10% of the European Union's GDP. So a major part of our economy here in Europe. This EU Clusters Talk is a bi-weekly event by the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, the ECCP, on behalf of DG GROW at the European Commission. DG GROW is the internal market, industry, entrepreneurship, and SMEs, by the way. Agenda, let's take a look at that. News from Martina. Then we'll have a video and a presentation, and the European Commission, its take on the transition pathway, describing what that is, a panel discussion with all of your Q&A, and make sure you get that in there. And then we'll have funding opportunities, tech tips on how do we get those questions out. Well, look at the bottom of your screen. You should see a Q&A button at the bottom. There's also lots of chat that you can watch. There's a lot of good discussion going on back and forth on that. And you can also raise your hand. There's a button down there to raise your hand, and we can call on you, and you can actually go on, turn your camera on, and talk with us. Let's see, hashtag EU Clusters Talks, keep that in mind, hashtag EU Clusters Talks. You can see at the bottom of that slide for anything you'd like to tweet on, and please do. And this is recorded for playback, so keep that in mind. Let's start with news from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform with Martina Fumagalli, team member of the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. Buongiorno, Martina.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Chris. Welcome everybody to today's cluster talk. We get to start with news from the ECCP. We recently launched a new registration process to allow users to have an easier and more user-friendly experience on our platform. This new process has been designed to make it easier for users to sign up, edit, and start using the available services. Among the novelties of this registration process is the differentiation between pro and standard types of users, depending on the richness of information shared while creating or editing your profile. Among the new function that pro users will have at their disposal, we have extensive industry info, detailed organizational KPIs, information on areas such as internalization and digitalization. You can check out the manual. We have shared the link in the chat. And another interesting tool that we recently introduced only for pro users is the Trend Universe, a strategic foresight instrument for EU clusters organization. This instrument will allow pro users to better understand future trends in all different ecosystems and to see the impact and try to foresee the impact of these trends on their cluster organization. Here as well, you can check the link in the chat, and we also provided an explanation video on the ECCP explaining how this tool works and how a pro user can benefit from this. We have also recently opened second call for applicants for the second Cluster Booster Academy. Cluster Booster Academy is a 4-day training for cluster managers coming from all over Europe, and the event will take place online on the 6th and 7th June and in person on 21st and 22nd September in Turin, Italy. In addition to virtual and in-person training sessions, cluster managers will have the chance to have individual coaching sessions and in-person training even after the academy.
Martina, on the back up there on that personal training in Torino, what kind of people turn up to that, and is that also a potential networking sort of situation?
Definitely, it's a very useful opportunity for cluster managers, not only to gain more experience, to gain new skills, but also to network between themselves. So yes, it's definitely a great networking opportunity.
Okay, great, excellent.
Last but not least, we have the Public Buyers Community Platform, which has been launched by the European Commission as a strategy to improve public procurement by bringing together public authorities and other stakeholders. This platform has been made for individual public procurers looking to boost their purchasing power, for persons in upper management or who hold political office looking to get information, for suppliers and industry wishing to know more on this EU public procurement, for existing network which are in need of a common space to guarantee cohesion, and for researcher groups seeking to gain insight into public procurement. And with this, I get back to you, Chris. Thank you very much.
Grazie, Martina. Thank you. We'll come back to you later with the funding opportunities, so stay tuned. Yeah, let's move on to our usual block here from our own correspondent, Cluster Eco Construction. There's a video, and then there's going to be a presentation after that. So let's hear this on video on Eco Construction Cluster en France. Let's hear it.
Hi everybody, I'm Olivier, Communication Officer of the Eco Building Cluster, Cluster Eco Construction. And behind me you can see our head office, which is very nice and very original building. It was built 2 years ago with logs and straw. This is very nice to work in it. We will see it in a few seconds.
Hi, I'm Julien. So what are we doing here? We have a partnership with Wallonia and, for certain projects, with the EU to promote the eco-building sector, bio-based material sector in Wallonia. For instance, this building was built within the Northwest European project Upstro. The goal is to create a healthy and comfortable inner climate in buildings and reduce CO2 in the same time. The use of wood, straw in combination with clay has this effect.
This is a piece of the wall of the building. We have here the outside logs, the straw, and here the inside log. And the inside log is also the finish wall. The EU Upstro project is to show that we can use this kind of building for private or public building, like city halls, for example, or schools or nursery. And this building is presented every day to public or private or public people, like politicians, engineers, students, or architects, for example.
It was for the European Upstro project, and now another example of European finished mission, Groove.
So Groove is a project of developing greenhouses on the top of buildings in order to benefit from the lost heat and the heat of the building, to generate exchanges between the heat and the building, and to reduce CO2. There is one in Germany which is built with a natural material, with hemp concrete, wood. The production is ongoing in all the greenhouses built in this project.
So it works.
So it works, yeah.
One of our missions is to lobby public authorities, and one of our recent success is the label bio-based material. If people choose to use this product with this official label to insulate their house, for example, they receive extra insulation bonus from the authorities.
This was just a little summary about our work.
Thank you to the European Clusters Collaboration Platform to invite us.
Thank you everybody, and see you!
See you!
Merci beaucoup, Olivier, Julien, Sibylle. Fascinating to see that wood, straw, and clay being used for construction materials. That's what this talk is all about, is how can we do more of that? Let's move on to a live presentation, a quick presentation from Meta Building, the Meta Building project with Germain Adel. Germain, you are Deputy General Director of Nobatech. And I understand, can I congratulate you already that you are the future head of Meta Building Association? Is that true?
Well, I'm online. I'm a candidate to be the head of that association. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not decided yet, but I am candidate and I'm pushing hard to move. I am the original coordinator of these two projects, so Meta Building and Meta Building Lab.
Right.
So
okay. Well, that's
that's
good. That's good. I wish you luck. I wish you
Okay.
luck on your candidacy.
Thank you. Thank you.
I anticipate it. All right. Okay, Jelma, go ahead. And Claudia Hunziger Keller, she might join us as well. I guess Claudia is.
She did already. Here I am.
Yes. Hello, Claudia. All right. So this might be a pas de deux. I will leave it to both of you to make the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. So very quickly, these are two Horizon 2020 projects. So one InnoSub project and one OITB, so projects about open innovation testbed. And we will have a glimpse here of how we can structure the European construction sector innovation ecosystem using the outcomes of this project. So next, please. So as I said before, two Horizon 2020 project, here you have it. So this first InnoSub, we got funding to directly distribute to companies, so SMEs, in a cascade funding scheme. And the idea here is to do innovation, cross-sector and innovation with the construction at the center, and then other industrial sectors or technologies like additive manufacturing, nature-based solutions, digital industry, and circularity and recycling. This project is finishing, but it was a very nice experience where basically the name is Meta Building because we are doing meta clustering. I will explain more on that very shortly. The other project is Meta Building Labs. So it's a network of testing facilities to help innovation on the topic of the building envelope. And we are using the same methodology and basically also the same open innovation digital platform that we created in Meta Building. So there's a lot of countries participating, and so target 13 countries. Next, please. So here are the countries that are covered, and in each one of these countries, we are doing meta clustering actions. So what is meta clustering action? I will explain on the case of France, and so we are coming from France. So next, please. So in every country, the basis of it is innovation network ecosystem, as you see there. So in each of those countries, we are scanning the innovation landscape of each country. So identifying actors, and one of the most important actors there are clusters, because in clusters you find SMEs. So we have identified the SMEs and the other actors. Next, please. So here you are, you have a snapshot of construction clusters ecosystem in France. So you have a lot of clusters on there. Next, please. So the meta-clustering action is basically identifying them, connecting them. The idea of a meta-cluster is to gain momentum, to gain critical mass in order to help companies, SMEs, go international. So we are doing this in France. Next, please. So here you have the connection. More, please. Here, it's very important for SMEs that cannot do research by themselves in general to have help from RTOs, so technology centers like we are, and these are other technology centers in landscape of France. Next, please. So more connections, this is the idea. We link also the companies, so big companies are also part of the loop by Circle Promodule, which will be a very big association and fund, also working with Novatech, and connected, of course, with the ECTP, which is the European Construction Technology Platform. So basically, the idea here is meta-clustering, connecting everything. And to do this, we have developed a digital platform, which is metabuilding.com. And then I pass the floor to Claudia to explain the following. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Shelma.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to talk you through the digital open innovation platform called MetaBuilding. This platform wants to be the meeting point of an EU-wide innovation ecosystem that has already started, as Germain has explained, in the two projects, MetaBuilding and MetaBuilding Labs. As you can see, it's a platform on several levels. It has a European landing page, and on the right, you can see all the countries that already have set up their national landing pages in order to bring together the national ecosystems as showed by Germain before. You can see a quite good distribution, and this will increase because we have just started now the sign-up campaign. So this platform not only offers a meeting place, but it offers tools for SMEs and other actors that want to do innovation or showcase their innovation products and services. But it also offers tools for clusters in order to help them to work better together, to integrate different actors, and also to work across clusters. We will see that. Next, please. The MetaBuilding project has circled around the construction sector and has been paired with other sectors that we think are sometimes more innovative than the construction sector and have the potential to bring innovation to the construction sector, which are the additive manufacturing sector, can you please go back? The recycling sector, so recycling and circular economy, but also green roofs and walls, which are represented by EFB in this case. Next, please. As I said, the platform helps to promote or find products and services. Each company or other actor, innovation actor, can promote for free his products and services that he has for the construction sector, suited for the construction sector. This is also a good base where to do technology watch and market watch, because there you see what's going on in Europe and what are the latest innovations. Next, please. And of course, you also can find collaboration partners, not only for projects, but also to do business. This is also free. It's you can find partners for European projects, and you can also find the business partners or other partners that you would need to do innovation. Next, please. This platform has been developed within the MetaBuilding project. It has become a product. It's called Clusterly in the form of a product. And like this product can be applied to other sectors as well. We are using it currently with our flagship clients that are already using Clusterly. So the MetaBuilding project and MetaBuilding ecosystem itself, PDTA, Construct and Innovate Ireland, and the ECTP. And it will be used in the future for the Build for People network for the Build for People network that is being set up. Okay, next, please. Once again, registering is free for all. Using the cluster management tool is not free. It depends on the functionalities you want to have. But showcasing your entity, your company, your RTO, your other type of innovation actor, also if you are a business person, business angel, you can show yourself in the platform. It's for free, and try it out and become a part of our ecosystem. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Claudia. Thank you to Germain. I hope at least one of you can stay on with us during the rest of the this cluster talk for any questions that anybody would like to ask you. And look in the chat, all of you. There is more information on how to find more information on the MetaBuilding project. There are links in there for more information. Let's move on to the European Commission and talking about the transition pathway for construction. Elektra Papadaki, team coordinator, DG Internal Market Industry Entrepreneurship SMEs DG Grow, as we had said. at the European Commission. Now, Electra, good morning. I understand you have to leave at 9:15. Is that right? 9:15 CET?
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for the introduction and good
Okay.
morning.
So we'll keep that in mind. And so if there are any questions for Electra, we want to get them as quickly as we can. And interesting presentation on building blocks for this idea of a transition pathway for construction. Let's take a look at it, Electra.
Thank you very much, Chris. And as I said again, good morning. I'm very happy to be here with you. In a past version of the cluster talks, I presented to you what we were planning to do with the transition pathway. So I'm happy now to tell you what we actually proposed in this policy document, in this roadmap for the future of construction. I was happy also to see the presentations before me and what people, entrepreneurs and innovators and people from the ground report being challenges and opportunities for construction. So we'll try a bit to link with what we are doing here in European level. So in terms of structure of the transition pathway, we decided to build our work around 6 building blocks. And in each of these 6 building blocks, we tried to analyze and propose solutions for key topics for construction. The first building block is about competitiveness. This is a very important building block for clusters, specifically because we look also into the role of networks in supporting smaller micro or small companies on the ground. So I invite you specifically to look into this if you ever decide to reach the transition pathway, because we also tried there to recognize the role of clusters in what is competitiveness for construction. Then in building block 2, we find skills and talent and everything that has to do with attracting, retaining and empowering people in the built environment and construction sectors. Building block number 3 is about the enabling framework. So what does construction need to thrive? This is our main question in this chapter. And I think maybe this is also an important one, because I noticed in the presentation from the eco-construction cluster, if I say it correctly, that there is really an exercise of convincing authorities, of training engineers and architects to use new materials. So there, excuse me, we are trying also to say what needs to be done in terms of policy and legal framework for construction to embrace innovation. There is building block number 4 on research and innovation and technology, self-explanatory as a topic. We have a building block about finance and funding and how we can channel money basically in construction in national level as well. And lastly, we have a building block about a safe and fair built environment, where we're looking into the result of the construction process, basically the built environment, our buildings, and how we can have better housing for citizens and safer housing. So if I can pass on to the next, thank you very much. So for each building block, we are trying to analyze what is happening, the state of play, describe the framework, give also visibility to some initiatives, either European level, national level, local, industrial, and others, and propose actions. So we try to find what needs to be done from now and in the next years for construction to be more digital, greener, more resilient. And the actions are actions that are to be taken by the EU, its member states, so public authorities, but also researchers, industry and others. Our main time frame is 2030, but there are actions that are described that refer to the very short term, so from now to 2025, roughly speaking, and there are some other actions that go beyond 2030 even. In the next slide, I would like to explain a bit more of what we find in the different building blocks. So as I said, competitiveness is particularly important for clusters and in general businesses. because there we also have taken the task to analyze how construction in Europe compares with construction ecosystems around the world. So with economies like US, China, what are our strategic dependencies, what all of these disturbances caused either by COVID or the energy prices or the invasion in Ukraine. So we have tried to paint really the picture there. There is a reference on construction startups. If there is really an exponential growth as we expected, what are the measures taken by different countries? So again, we describe this as well. Networks, as I said to you. So this is basically the competitiveness building block. And in the next slide, you can see that we expect industry also to take a series of actions in order to increase competitiveness, addressing all these dependencies that I mentioned by diversifying suppliers, materials, products, supporting local materials and building techniques, investing in technology. And also, we describe a series of actions of what EU and the member states and authorities should do in order to support industry towards these goals. Next slide, please. In terms of skills and talent, there our job is a bit different. As you may know, skills and education is a competency of the member states. So there the role of the EU is to monitor, to coordinate, to give incentives and resources to the industry or to the member states in order to do better. And this is what happens in terms of skills. There are funding packages and the budget in order to support coordination actions under Erasmus, under the Pact for Skills. So we describe a bit what is the image there. And in the next slide, please, in terms of actions, we of course ask different industrial associations to join the Pact for Skills because there is already Pact for Skills for construction and succeed in their commitments. Also work on diversity. Construction is a sector that is particularly specific on diversity, is not performing very well on diversity. And also in terms of skills, we are also making a reference to training public authorities and public administrators on digitalization, on all of these critical aspects that we describe, because it is important also that the public sector, the public administration is ready for a greener and more digital construction ecosystem. Next slide, please. The enabling framework. As I said, this is about the policy and the legal framework, also the digital framework, because there are a lot coming up in terms of artificial intelligence, data. All of this is a very complex situation under which construction companies have to operate. And next slide. In the enabling framework, I may say that we expect more, of course, to be done from the side of the authorities, but also companies can uptake some of the EU level initiatives, especially in terms of green. They can engage more on circular practices, use levels and other assessing frameworks to report in a uniform way how sustainable are the different buildings and construction that they are in charge. And of course, as I said, it's on the authorities to have the infrastructure ready for construction to become greener and more digital. Next slide, please. Research, innovation and technology, I think is something that you might know very well. In clusters, you have integrated different aspects, and some of you also research and innovation. Outside clusters, though, the situation is a bit more difficult. We see that research and innovation don't pass to market so easily in construction. So we again describe some important developments. We describe what is being done through Horizon Europe, LIFE, other funding instruments, and where we see the main gaps. Next slide, please. Of course, there is a lot to be done further also by industry to participate more and help develop standards. And something we got in the consultation from researchers and academics and innovators is that they expect industry to also fund research themselves, not to let everything on public spending. Please, next slide. On funding, you can proceed because the time is a bit limited. On funding, you can imagine by yourself that sometimes it's difficult for small companies to navigate the funding opportunities, even if there are some. So again, we leave there some recommendations to member states. And lastly, there is the building block on fair housing and some aspects on how we can make buildings safer. Again, something that refers more to the work of the Commission with member states. I think there is one more slide. One more, please. Okay, and the last point I want to make is that as an annex to the transition pathway, you can find already some national and industrial commitments that we have collected that correspond to the actions that we have described above. And in general, as you may know from the work of other ecosystems, we start now a very important work of collecting what industry, authorities, research and academia is willing to do in order to contribute to the transition pathway from now on. So that would be all from my side. Back to you, Chris.
Evharisto, Electra, thank you very much. There's a quick question actually from, I just want to ask you quickly from Claudia, actually. Is there a link to the new European Bauhaus Academy to this?
Okay, of course, yes, there is a link to the new European Bauhaus. In general, we take the new European Bauhaus and initiatives like the Mies van der Rohe Award, the European Award for Architecture. Okay. We consider them as contributors to Building Block 1 about competitiveness. We believe that they elevate the level of architecture in Europe, and this is an element of competitiveness. And in terms of the academy, we need to see exactly how the academy will materialize and its different hubs. But the academy certainly is a contributor to skills, and it's also covering a part of upskilling that is not so present to other initiatives right now, upskilling for circular materials, for bio-based materials and others. So it is there, it is part of the picture, of course.
Okay, very good. Thank you again, Electra. And stay with us as long as you can. If there are any other questions for Electra, please do put them into the Q&A. Yeah, now it's time to move on I'll also keep in mind that any of these presentations are also, in addition to the recording of this cluster talk, you can see on the website for the cluster collaboration platform any of these presentations, because some of these are have a lot of information to absorb. Let's move on to the debate. Pablo Saiz, let's start with you, Chief Architecture Officer at WUDEA. And I might mention you were at the cluster collaboration in March in Sweden, and you made some proposals there. So welcome, Pablo. And if you can give us a bit of feedback on what Electra presented.
Yeah, hello, Chris, and thank you, Electra, for the presentation. So I don't know if to make first the feedback about the transition pathways. Here, first, if I can make an introduction about who we are.
Please do.
WUDEA.
Yeah.
No, so WUDEA, it's a kind of a startup. We also we are founding. We have 1 million to start to work. We are a construction company, a newborn construction company. So we are born digitalized, based on lean construction also, and based on building with component, what we call it here in Spain, industrialized construction, or maybe it's modern methods of construction, as is known in Europe. So we're working in a basis of DFMA, and we are seeking to make affordable housing align with the main interest of fighting against global warming, climate change, etc. So as the name of WUDEA mentioned, we are working on wood. engineering booth, because we think that it's a nice, really nice solution for all the problems that we are having now. And so with the transition pathways, we're very happy to see that at least we have a roadmap for fighting these elements. But we are a little bit sorry, because we think that it's not moving, or it's not going as quick as we think that we need. So from our point of view, this transition pathway is quite focused in the building industry in renovation. I think there is a big impact in renovation, or in renovating all the construction housing that we already have. We make a big effort, at least in Spain, with the codes to minimize the CO2 emissions during the operational life of the buildings, of the new buildings.
Yeah.
So I understand that we have to go for the existing buildings, but I've seen very little in what it's about new construction. And it's very important that we don't forget about these elements. And if we go to the global ABC roadmap from the United Nations, I think they have more interest in this thing about the importance of the new construction and the embodied carbon of materials. So I think if we don't fight this from this very beginning, we are losing an opportunity, and maybe we are not playing the focus in all the aspects that we need to seek, or we need to fight in construction industry.
Right. So I guess these discussions through the collaboration platform are important to help to stimulate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you say anything more about what you proposed at the cluster collaboration event in March in Sweden? Can you give us one proposal that you made, one idea that you had?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we were working with Jorge Lopez Conde, that he's like the promoter of the clusters from New European Bauhaus. So it's a cluster of clusters that they are aligned to the principles of New European Bauhaus. And our proposal was to make the New European house. It will be a kind of pilot prototype for housing, for the commitments of the New European Bauhaus. And it will be based on these principles of low carbon, low emissions in the whole life cycle of the construction. So it will be like using these principles of circular economy, seeking for the same thing that we are seeking in Budea, of affordable housing and affordable sustainable housing. So based in DFMA for circular economy, based on working with engineering wood, working with high efficiency energy, low emissions housing. And the idea is to make this kind of first lighthouse building for this affordable and sustainable housing, and also looking for make something for the Ukrainian renovation after this disaster and madness when it's finished. So it's like making a prototype of the new European sustainable and affordable house, beautiful, inclusive, and resilient, sustainable, and everything.
Great. Excellent, Pablo. Thank you very much. Please stay on with us. Rodica Rupu, Director of the Technology-Enabled Construction Cluster, TEC. Rodica, I guess I'd like to get some feedback from you from Electra's presentation, but also if you can talk about the importance of digitalization, because we see that it is rather slow in construction. How do we speed that up?
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation and for the questions. I've been close to the whole process of consultation that the Commission ran for the pathway to transition, and I think it was a very as thorough as possible consultation process, given the scope of it. My feedback is positive for sure. I think it's a very well done work, and thank you for all this effort and for involving the private sector in all these discussions. And I did notice that most of the things that have been discussed in various consultations were taken into the scenarios, into the pathway. So this is good, definitely. The building blocks, I can clearly see that the building blocks are quite logical. However, the amount of work that needs to be done in the next years is huge, and a lot of these things have to be done in parallel. So it's not going to be easy to take this into reality. There are many challenges, and I think that the challenges that we meet at national level in our cluster with our members in our local industry are similar to a certain extent to the overall challenges in other countries. However, Europe is not, the whole sector in Europe is not homogeneous. So there are certain particularities and specificities in some regions of Europe. And the way we focus our work in different regions of Europe has to be different. And maybe this is not entirely reflected in the pathways to transition. There's a general approach. The general approach is good. Most of those things are equally important for all the regions in Europe. However, there are differences in the focus we need to have in these regions. The digitalization, for instance, is critical, as you said. And obviously we consider that because the whole cluster is focused on digitalization and fostering digitalization in the sector. However, the digitalization will also, or might also, increase the gaps in this already very fragmented industry. Because as also the document states, this industry has 99% of the companies SMEs, but almost 37 of the companies in the sector are micro enterprises. From our experience, the micro enterprises are very unlikely to get digital without a very serious support, both financial support, but which is not easy, it's not easy to secure that for micro enterprises. It's easy to do that for SMEs, but for micro enterprises is a big challenge. And also the know-how transfer is very difficult for micro enterprises because they're not willing actually to get digital. They have they don't have the resources, not only in terms of money, but also in terms of time, because they're very underpushed.
Right. So Rodrika, that's a challenge. Is there anything that your tech cluster is doing to facilitate that, to encourage that?
Yes, what we think is possibly an anchor to tackle this problem, this challenge. We find it in the digital innovation hubs. We think that the digital innovation hubs might be a good solution and a good destination for micro enterprises. However, they're also mostly engaging with SMEs because it's easier. Right. So there is need for specific measures within the framework of the digital innovation hubs that are totally or completely or exclusively destined for micro enterprises, because otherwise the speed, the SMEs, and in particular the larger SMEs, are going to speed up their digitalization, and they're actually champions. Most of the large SMEs in Romania are already digital, and I think it's the case in all over Europe. Yeah. Smaller SMEs will go fast enough because they will be attracted by the larger SMEs that they work with, and the micro enterprises are going to be left behind. However, the micro enterprises are critical for the sector because they are the ones that attract more easily the workers. It's easier for them to hold on to workers and qualify workers on site.
Right. So
because
the more
the human resource challenge is also a very critical challenge in the sector.
Right.
We are part of the Digital Innovation Hub already, and we are doing this kind of work both with SMEs and micro enterprises. But like I said, for micro enterprises, it seems to be a very, very serious challenge.
Okay.
And the second thing that I think might help us all would be to increase the focus on experience exchanges between clusters and in particular between clusters and construction, because there's not enough of that, especially in the digitalization aspect in the second. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Rodriga, and do stay with us. Victor Ferreira, president of Sustainable Habitat Cluster in Portugal. Welcome. I guess, you know, we saw that great video showing about sustainable habitats, and we heard more from Pablo about his proposal. Can you build on that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. It's quite interesting presentations we've seen from Electra and the impressions of my colleagues in this panel. So yeah, we are very much into it as a cluster in Portugal, but also with our partners throughout Europe during all these years. Sustainable Habitat Cluster is a cluster that is concerned with the build-up of our habitat as most sustainable as possible. And we have been trying to link with other initiatives from ECCP to the more recently to the European House as a member, and also trying to connect with other strategic partnerships with not only with the construction clusters, as Rodrigo was saying, but also with other clusters from other value chains. So the cluster is very much into focus in looking at people in their habitat. So and try to make it more sustainable and healthy to live it. So basically we have these 4 areas of intervention that is linked with the development of sustainable products for our industry. And we have heard something like we have been involved and in a previous intervention referring to Pablo, I think referring to this issue of CO2 emissions and the rate we are progressing, which is clearly very, very, very small speed towards that. We are especially concerned in our cluster with the embodied CO2. I think Pablo has referred to the use of during the lifetime of a building, which is an important component, but it starts with the embodied CO2 and the way architects and engineers combine materials to get a carbon neutral solution. So we are very much into that, appealing to our members that have we have essentially materials producers and in our network, but also other people from other suppliers of other goods and equipment for the habitat, from climatization to whatever, green roofs. And we have seen an intervention today. And this combination, the wise combination of materials and products will be able, and this is the role of that beautiful group of architects and engineers that conceive our not only rehabilitation but also new construction, which is going at an accelerated pace because we are looking to the world and not only to Europe. There is a lot of new construction coming into. So we feel that we are stimulating our members to develop solutions that can meet these requirements, these green transition requirements of being circular, low carbon, reversible solutions. So but at the same time competitive solutions with the market, because the market is always complaining about how expensive is that.
Yeah,
so
well, exactly. That was my next question, actually. Because there is an affordable housing initiative. Can we talk about affordability? How are you making this more affordable for the
Well,
average homeowner or wannabe homeowner?
Well, I want to be humble and say we are not making anything, but our members are trying to fight through a very competitive market, and a market that is sometimes difficult to change. But people today, more recently in the recent years, are very much alert. So sustainability is clear a market value that people are open to it, and but the solutions that are being developed, they must meet this fundamental requirement of economic sustainability and being competitive, at least with others, or have a language that will prove that we have to look to products and solutions from the life cycle point of view in order to consider, and not just comparing initial prices, because we don't do that with other goods that we buy. So we should think clearly about that. Then this is fundamental to achieve the collaboration with other EU clusters. We are linked in a series of the strategic partnerships with others through European projects, which has been very important. Initiatives of ECCP or European Cluster Conference are fantastic medium so we can discuss that. We have a meeting with Eco-Cluster Cluster planned for May in Portugal. So it's this kind of initiatives that allow us to search for these goals. And I think I'd like to leave this idea. I think that we are doing that in Portugal, where there are two things that seems very important in terms of the digital transition. Also, we are linked in a digital hub in the central region of Portugal. We are coordinating it with other 3 Portuguese clusters. So this is an important initiative in going green also. And but also something that is very important, apart from the effort of companies to develop products and the cities also, that we have some members that are some cities as our members of the cluster, and they use them as test beds for the implementation of these solutions. I think one important thing is the green procurement. I mean, the presence in this, the way cities accept their projects, the way the public procurement motivates in a certain direction. This is a very important tool that can really change things, and not only the final green procurement, but something that we are working also. It's for new solutions, which is we have a task force here in Portugal with the Innovation Agency and some other public agency concerned with innovation public procurement. So if the solution is not there, to be able to motivate the appearance of green solutions. So we are working on these green procurement issues from these two sides, the final, the existing products and the products that need innovation to come into market. So this is basically what we have been doing. Yeah.
Victor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's see, Victor, very quickly, there's a question. Are you linked to PTPC? What is that, PTPC?
This is another technological platform that appeared some years after our cluster. So our cluster was born in 2007. And but of course I know them. I know Rita Moura, and I know that they have also some initiatives. We are also members of ECTP, the European Cluster Concern Platform, since 2011. So we are linked. We're not directly linked. It's another association. We are the oldest cluster here, but yes, we know them. And
okay, all right, good. And please send in all your questions. Anyone listening, any other questions, put it into the Q&A or the chat. Either one is fine. I'm watching both. Let's move on. Thanks very much, Victor. Let's move on to Zoe Boutopoulou, Coordinator of Intelligent Solutions for Zero and Positive Energy Building Thessaloniki. Welcome, Zoe. I just mentioning, I guess a lot of people know, but just to remind that 40% of EU energy is in buildings. Buildings use it, and there's also this emissions trading system is going to be expanded to buildings. I believe that could give a bit of a push to what you're trying to do, right, Zoe?
Exactly. And taking into consideration that construction worldwide, I think, uses like 3 billion tons of raw materials annually. So that's like the 40%, if I remember correctly, of the total raw materials, let's say, that we use. So just let me just first give you a glimpse of, about generally what we do, because ISEB indeed is a cluster that is placing itself in the construction domain. So our purpose is to promote digitalization in smart and efficient energy buildings. We have leading Greek companies that are included in our cluster, as well as authorities. And actually, what we do is we try to focus on the entire life cycle of the building, meaning from the planning, the commissioning, the construction, the renovation, the demolition, even the recycling of the building and the building materials. So our vision is to support and upgrade the digitalization of the construction sector and assist all related companies to grow their digital maturity levels. As Rodica said, and I really agree and see the point in that, is that construction is such a fragmented industry. Many different players are involved in the supply chain. So this can make it extremely difficult to coordinate all efforts and implement all these new technologies and practices consistently among the industry. And the barrier to that, again, as Rodica said, is the national laws, because it's not only a fragmented industry in terms of the players, but also in terms of the countries that are involved. For example, in the leading, let's say, projects, so funding can be very important. And what I find very also essential is, like, for example, as a transition pathway said in the funding section, the national RRFs is like a good chance and to set a common line for all players across the European countries and force them, if I can use this word, to adopt these new practices. So what we try to do with our cluster is not only to foster collaboration and transfer the know-how to the SMEs, because that's the critical part we need to focus on. Provide training and education, because this is also one of the biggest problems. So a skilled workforce can promote innovation.
Well, on that line, Zoe, because that was one of the building blocks that Electra talked about. In fact, one of the top ones was about skills and trying to build those skills. And of course, Rodica talked about that the difficulty of those, especially the micro enterprises, is trying to upskill them, digitalize them. What are you doing over there in Greece to try to boost that?
In terms of training, I guess you're referring. So not only we have in our cluster about 16 companies that are joining their force. We're doing seminars with them that are about engineers and kind of engineers, and actually to people who are related to the construction sector. And it's really important because, you know, somehow this know-how and the knowledge only transfers to, let's say, biggest companies. So we give smaller companies a chance to actually get a glimpse and know important things about how the construction works in the biggest projects. So we also developing like internal projects. We're developing software. We have 5 internal projects, and one of them actually is about we call it Assist AR. It's about tools that are using AR and augmented virtual reality that will help people who are in the field, basically help them to different stages of the work, especially in the renovation stage.
Okay.
So
Great.
this is
Okay.
part of our activities.
Very good. Okay, Evcharisto, thank you, Zoe. Can we, I'd like to go back over to, and please do send in your questions, any questions you have for any of the panelists. Let me come back to Pablo, and I'm wondering, here's another 40% figure, that about 40% of all total waste is from building, construction. That's major, though, okay, 89, I'm seeing I think these are commission figures, 89% is recycled, but there's been little improvement in recent years. What concrete example do you have, or can you give us, of stepping up that recycling in the construction business?
Yeah, no, it's amazing, Chris. It's like this book of Herman Melville, this Battleby, that he said always, I would rather not to, no? So we as an architect, when we saw all the impact that architecture does, it's like, I would rather not to make any building, because it's amazing all the harm that is doing to the planet. So we are really ambitious, or maybe a kind of naive, but we want to change this. And we don't want just to make as less impact as possible. We want to make a good impact in the environment. So we're seeking for, or we are aiming to make architecture to be a good thing for the planet, and construction a good thing for the planet. And this is coming in two directions. One is the use of materials, and maybe we can talk about later on this. And the second one is about circular economy. So it's clear that we cannot go into this open life cycle of having the materials, manufacturing them, using, and then throwing to the dustbin. No? So circular economy is one of the main ways for changing this paradigm of construction.
Yeah, can you give us a concrete example of what project?
So so we are into using this methodology that it's designed for manufacturing and assembly. That is that buildings, they are also made for disassembly. So we are not much, we are working with wood as a material. That it's a material that it's easy to recycle and to reuse. We are also in concrete. We are working with concrete that they reuse part of the elements with the recycling elements.
Okay.
The difficulty that we have is sometimes it's not easy to find these materials, and the legislation, the construction legislation is not moving as quick also as we need. So always we need this balance about new opportunities, but we need also for the new legislation for all of it. But we believe about a building as a bank of material. So we believe in this thing about the passport of materials. So all the elements that we are setting in our buildings, they will have. We would like that they will have their passport. So at the end of the life cycle of its use, we know what we can do with them. Maybe some of them we can reuse. Some of them we will have to recycle, or some of them they will finish as a biological nutrient that will be easily to absorb with the ecosystem.
Okay. All right. Rodrigo, I want to come to you because I saw you nodding. Perhaps you have a concrete example as well. And I also have a question for you from Dominique, who asks, can we set up a learning repository for eco-construction on a common core of skills as part of the Pact for Skills for the well-being of all citizens? I think that kind of speaks to your idea about upskilling, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a concrete example for circular economy. It's one of the subjects that we've started to undertake recently, and we included it through a hackathon during the international conference, Construct in May. So we're going to have a hackathon on this. We're just starting, we're scratching the surface on eco-construction. Yeah, I was nodding because I was thinking that in order to foster digitalization as well as circular economy, I totally agree that the role of the state is critical. And I think that what the state should do would be, first of all, to digitalize permits. And some of them have already done this, but many of them are still way far from this stage. And maybe the resilience plan, which comprises a lot of money for digitalization, maybe will be a good opportunity for states to digitalize all the procedures and make it easier for companies, because it's useless for companies to digitalize if they don't have the counterpart in the public authorities. And also it's critical to change the approach in the public purchases, in the public acquisitions, because I think Pablo had that in mind as well. I think if we don't have clear guidelines, at least, maybe at European level, to help public servants in acquisitions to define more intelligent, smarter terms for their acquisitions, to include both the digital, the building information modeling issue, but also circular economy, so criteria related to circular economy and to eco materials and this kind of thing, which at this point, this is very difficult to do in many states, because usually building an energy efficient building or using eco materials might seem to be a bit more costly at the beginning. So some of the materials are more costly, although overall, the overall cost of the investment is smaller, but the public authorities don't think in terms of the whole life cycle of the building, but in terms of the actual execution and the cost of execution. And this is why many polluting materials are preferred.
Right. Okay. Let me, I've got more questions coming in. Let's hear from you first, Victor. So listen up. This is a question from Andreas to all the panelists. As partner in the EDIH, Innovate, EDIHs were mentioned, what could be a good way to address and support the mentioned challenge in many small companies?
For me?
Yes.
This is a very tough question. It has several aspects into it. There was, we have been working like this idea of trying to bring back in 2013. We have created in Portugal a national registration for environmental product declarations. Okay, because to facilitate our companies, we have also co-founded an European association that is called Eco Platform, that gets together today practically all European program managers of EPDs. And we have done that because we believe that we were talking a while ago about embodied energy and CO2, because I think we could use this instrument, the information lying in these EPDs to generate what we call the eco design of our products and buildings and so on. And now we're working, stepping for something that Rodica was saying, we are working with this information exchange with BIM and to be able to insert this in this digital way of doing construction. So and looking at construction. So this aspect is it's quite important to get together this twin transition that is underlying under this question you have placed. And it's very important that also EDIs and so the European Digital Innovation Hubs, and we are involved in one here in Portugal. So it's very important that we, from our perspective of the digital transition linked with the green transition, is to bring together this information that is underlying on different kind of instruments and what I should say as parallel universes, and to bring them together to foster one thing that is very important, which is the eco-design of our materials, products, and buildings. So we are working with this, trying to bring these two worlds together, this twin transition together, the digital side and also the environmental-based information that can feed up this instruments, and that is important that they coexist the same field, so architects and engineers can benefit from them, and the result of their work can really set up a more greener and sustainable habitat.
Is there a concrete example of that? An example that you know of?
Well, we have been involved in some projects with at the Interreg level, for instance, at the eco design. Some of our members are deeply involved in European projects in this field. So it's something that we have been promoting, and also not only from the cluster point of view, but which is more important, trying to place our companies, our R&D institution in these projects, because they are, of course, disseminating this through their networks also. And this is an important role of the cluster, to be a facilitator and bringing people and companies together for this same goal. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Zoe, do you want to add to that anything on your side about EDIH and helping small companies?
Well, I'm gonna agree with Victor. It's like a kind of tough question.
I see you put in the chat in the EDIH that we are involved in. We created an online digital maturity test. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think a colleague did it. Or...
Oh, that's Rodica, sorry.
Yeah,
okay,
no. Zoe, yeah. Sorry about that. Zoe, anything to add on that? If not, then I have another question for you.
Sure.
Let's see. Oh, Pablo, yeah, I see Pablo in the chat here. Okay. Okay, a lot of back and forth on the chat. Very good. Let's see. Let me ask you then about. Can you say anything about toxic free? I see in the transition plan of building toxic free, getting rid of asbestos. Do you anything on that?
Toxic free. Well, it's hard sometimes, and this is linked actually to the previous question about the this passport of not only the buildings but also the materials that are included in the buildings. It's really hard to keep track of every stage of the supply chain, and it's actually like a huge problem also in the pharmaceutical industry. Usually comparing, because they're very similar, and sometimes useful information can be like how forgotten from the biggest view. Toxic free is something that we're also trying to dive into.
Oh, good.
In our clusters. So we're at the very early stages up to now, and what we're trying to do is, like, first of all, give a better take a look of what's happening in the European level. But again, we have the problem of legislation, and even if we're trying to contact companies, I mean, outside of the cluster, because again, there is a construction industry in Greece. It's kind of large. Sometimes we face problems that about definition, let's say, because many people have many definitions. It's like, let me make a comparison with when we talk about the ISTI criteria. Okay, at the very beginning, it was like kind of fluent. We had the general idea of what we want to do, but there was no clear roadmap. And that's what we're facing actually in this problem here. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you that much. I hope in the next, because we want to be part of the next bi-weekly meetings, and if we have any news on that, I will let you know, because it's something that I'm not that aware yet.
Okay, that's fine. Anyone else would like to add on to the idea of toxic free, because that is also part of sustainable construction? Any other contributions on that? Okay, I guess not. Let's see, we're pretty much wrapping up at this point. I think maybe this idea about competitiveness, we talked about competitiveness. How do we create a favorable environment for competitiveness? Is there a concrete example of that among the panelists?
Okay, can I?
Yes, go ahead, Pablo.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing, this thing of competitiveness. No, Victor said quite clearly before, no? We're looking for make a product that is competitive in the market.
Yeah,
that's for sure, because if it's not competitive in the market, there is no product.
That's right.
So, but we are seeing is that we are facing is that as in many other areas of economy, going sustainable maybe sometimes takes you out of competitiveness. Sorry. So by the moment it's we are in the market, and we are the competition is about economy, it's about price most of the times, and the regulation is about sustainability. So if we don't move the regulation, if we don't make any legislation on construction that it's more about setting the standards or the minimum of sustainability that we can afford, with these actual rules, we can be more sustainable. But if we want to move as much as we can, and I mean to look for embodied carbon in all the whole cycle, we are a little bit out of competitiveness. So that's strange, because in a way we want to be more sustainable, but as more sustainable as we get, the less competitiveness that we have. So how we manage this? I think it will be a good, not new when we go to this trading system of emissions, but not only in the operational life, but also in the embodied carbon. So we're seeking for this competitiveness using these materials, but using the materials in a wisdom way, as less as possible, because we have the market very much in mind.
Okay.
But we need these things of setting the new rules of the game, because it cannot be cheaper to be climate aggressive.
Okay, I understand. Let's. I see. Victor and Germain have raised their hands. Let me go to Germain first. If you can turn on your camera, though. Is that possible?
Yes.
Yes, Germain.
Thank you very much. Indeed, the discussion about competitiveness is very important. I would say to Pablo that just to react very quickly, this is the mother of all problems, and how you improve your products, your technologies, and at the same time you keep them at a reachable price. And there's a lot of research going on for that. And we have been doing this for a European project. This is what they are meant to contribute to the general discussion. So we had at the ECTP a PPP for 12 years and funding research to do that. So there's an ongoing, we have to do research, and this is called the industrial scale-up, the way of improving your products but keeping the cost low. This is industrialization. So this is scale-up of solutions. So we have to pass from the art and craft architect designing specifically one house to massive construction, massive renovation also. And there's a lot of solutions that are already valid and a lot of things going on. So this is important, and this is, but the other aspect of competitiveness that I would like to raise is connections. This is why we are talking about innovation ecosystem. People, open innovation is seeking ideas outside of the company, okay? Everyone agrees on that. But to go further than open innovation is to these ideas that are outside. If you don't meet people, if you don't meet institutions, if you don't meet other people working, even other industrial sectors, you won't have these ideas. So the idea is that the system have to be connected. That's why we are doing meta-clustering. That's why we are urging people to participate in organizations, in platforms, and to be there. And an example, a concrete example, we funded SMEs via our sub-project, Meta Building. So this funding was competitive. So we launched challenges to SMEs based on challenges about construction and digitalization, construction and circular economy, etc. And the most performant environment, so the most winners, the more winners we had, was in Spain. And it wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't by chance, because in Spain, the ecosystem is very connected, thanks to this technology platform, which is PTEC, Plataforma Tecnológica Española de la Construcción. So people know each other, they work with technology centers, they are aware of everything, and this gives more edge in the competition. So this is, I think, for clusters, the idea of clusters is don't stay alone. Work with RTOs, work with other clusters, work with everyone, and use platforms in order to reach more audience and more collaborations. That's my.
That's a great pep talk. Thanks, Jaume. Victor, I think you got the last word here. And do you have a concrete example of that?
Yeah, so just try to be brief, because I want to complement this idea of, okay, research is important. It's more important even if it is industrially driven, with a strong exploitation plan of the results, because that will condition and surely will make a step on how competitive the final solution is. So it's very, very important. But I want to bring the attention of something that I've already said in the beginning, and I think Rodica has also touched this point when he say, if you are dealing with public procurement, in the end, they will decide it by the lowest price, because they don't want to be in a big mess with the courts and so on. So, and there it goes, sustainability, okay? So green procurement, cities play here, not only research, but cities that condition the way that cities are developed, refurbished, and so on, and the way they ask for projects is very important. What I call really the public procurement, it's very important, because they condition also the private procurement, the way companies establish their projects, either they are small or big. And this is a very important aspect. Is just we have to place the right questions, the right demands at the public level, at the European level, because otherwise we'll keep on deciding on the lowest price, and that it's impossible to talk about sustainability without the life cycle thinking. It's the same way with other subjects. You are not going to judge when you buy a car. You're not only thinking about the price of the car, you're thinking about maintenance, consumption, and so on for as long as it lasts. when you buy a house. Apparently, you forgot these principles. So this is something that cannot exist. And one way to bring it faster to the market and give it the real value of the market to the sustainability factor is really to have the cities engaged in all their public procurement acts, to be very objective on asking for sustainable, low carbon solutions and so on. I think this is the fastest road for the clean transition.
Victor, obrigado. Thank you very much. Thanks to Victor as well, to Germain, Claudia, Electra, to Pablo and Rorica and Zoe. Thank you to all of you and to all of your questions for all of you watching and listening. Great to have this this feedback and this interchange. Let's quickly go to funding opportunities from Martina, please.
Many thanks, Chris, and many thanks to all the panelists for this very fruitful and interesting discussion. Now we'll have a look at some funding opportunities related to today's topic, and also some more related to Euroclusters. First of all, there is a call opening for fast-tracking and promoting built environment construction and renovation innovation with local value chains. Project results are expected to contribute to increase awareness and improve access at local and regional level to research outcomes for sustainable built environment construction. They also want to create new business opportunities with reduced risk for investment in innovative built environment. The deadline for this call is the 5th of September, and this call has been open in the framework of Horizon Coordination and Support Action. You can see more information in the chat. Next, we also want to mention another call open to support the creation of an accessible and inclusive built environment. The project results are also expected to increase awareness and improve access at local or regional level, and strengthen long-lasting and multidisciplinary networking. Deadline is always on the 5th of September, and this open call has been done in the framework of Horizon Innovation Action. You can see more information. Another call is open to demonstrate built environment decarbonization pathways through bottom-up technological, social, and policy innovation for adaptive, integrative, sustainable renovation solutions. The deadline also for this call is set at the 5th of September, and you can see more information in the chat. We also want to raise your attention to present some ongoing opportunities for SMEs, especially coming from Euroclusters. All these open calls touch upon all different industrial ecosystems, from life sciences, medical technologies, health, agri-food, aerospace and defense, and so on. All these calls are published on the ECCP, and I highly recommend you to have a look at them in detail and check for relevant deadlines. With this, get back to you, Chris, and thank you very much.
Great, grazie mille, Martina. Thanks to you. And this has been the EU Clusters Talk, bi-weekly event by the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, ECCP. Take a look at those next events coming up. Please do register for them, and also register on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform for discussions as well, right in the ECCP discussion group. Please keep that in mind. This has been recorded, so there will be a report on that. Hashtag EU Clusters Talks, keep that in mind for anything that you have heard. I'm Chris Burns. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.